Bon après-midi à tous et bienvenue à cette audience publique du comité de dérogation de la Ville d'Ottawa. Welcome everyone to this public hearing of the Committee of Adjustment for the City of Ottawa. We are panel 1, panel 1 pour Groupe 1 pour le secteur urbain, urban area. We are a City of Ottawa quasi-judicial tribunal that holds public hearings to consider Planning Act applications, including the most common ones, minor variances and consents to sever land. Our hearings are back to being in person, but that being said, there's always the opportunity to participate online. All you need to do is speak with our committee staff and register for remote participation. You are being live streamed on YouTube, and the video and the agenda will be archived on the committee's website. My name is Anne Tremblay, and I will be your chair for today. With me are my fellow panel members. I'll start on my right. So Member Blatherwick, Member Lecueillier, Member Coakley, and Member Keklikan. So listed on the agenda, you saw a number of items. Those are essentially the order the applications come in. We will be varying the order in which we will be hearing applications today. Also, just note, sometimes you'll find, and we do now have an unopposed fast-tracking system for applications that are essentially non-controversial. There's no one who's asked to speak. There's nothing's being contested. And there's no opposition. So for those applications, we deal with them really quickly, but just know that the panel has had a chance to look at all of the material that's filed with the applications and reviewed all of that. And in fact, we meet prior to this hearing today at 1, just beforehand to go over any new material and get clarification. So we're well-versed on the contents of the files. So also, what we really want to hear from then is new evidence through oral submission. So anyone and everyone is welcome to either provide comments in support or in opposition to the committee on the varying applications. I do have a speakers list. I tend to start with those, but that doesn't mean that you can't speak. Of course you can. All we need is for you to come down when asked to do so. You put up your hand, you come down, and then we'll get your full name and municipal address. So that's how we proceed with that public portion. Just on another business matter, as part of the statutory public notification requirements, each applicant is required to post a sign on the property in question before the hearing. And they're also they're required to confirm that in writing. If we don't have a copy of that statutory declaration, then we can proceed with verbal swearings or affirmations of oaths that the sign postings requirement has been met. Otherwise, we would have to postpone the hearing on that application, but I believe everything is in, so we don't have any issues today. So how we proceed is we'll deal with the adjournments, and then we'll deal with the unopposed applications, and then we'll go to the applications that require further discussion. In those cases, we may say we'll simply ask questions. The panel doesn't need a presentation. And in other cases, the panel will say we would like a full presentation from you and the planning evidence that's contained therein. So today we'll essentially proceed on sort of that pecking order, if you will. If you do want to speak and you're not on the speakers list, then as I said, you just come on down. We'll get the information from you that we need. Just a note: those comments are limited to 5 minutes. Any discretion to go over the 5 minutes is my purview. So at the end of the hearing on the application, the panel can make an oral decision, or we can reserve our decision. If we reserve our decision, it means we still make a decision today. We just take a little more time to deliberate on that decision. And in all cases, whether it's granted, denied, or reserved, you will get within 10 days of this hearing an official written decision and the reasons for the panel's decision. And anyone who wants to have a copy of that decision is welcome to. Certainly the parties that are involved, participants, will get that copy. And then again, as I said, anyone who has an interest. You again just need to speak with committee staff. So going to some procedural matters, any declarations of conflict of interest for any of the items on this agenda or any of the other panel agendas.
Madam Chair, I I will excuse myself from item number 1, the Marlborough. It's in my community, so I'll recuse.
All right, thank you, Member Keklikan, on that. Anyone else? Nope. All right. I don't believe we have any minutes to confirm. Nope, we don't have any minutes. So we're going to go straight to the adjournment request. I'm going to start with number 6, which is for 100 Hamilton, looking for Agent Kelly. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
So you're aware of the reasons, or can you briefly give us the reasons for the adjournment request?
Yes, so upon submission, we reached out to the Community Association for a meeting with them to describe the application. Their meeting is scheduled for April 8th. So we're going to take the time to meet with them on April 8th and come back hopefully on April 16th.
All right, thank you. Any questions for Mr. Kelly from panel members? No, all right. Is there anyone in the audience? And I don't believe if I look at number 6. We did have the chair of the Committee Association Zoning Committee. Do they want to speak to the request for adjournment? I believe we're looking for Ms. Hode on this. No? All right.
I just want to say that we are in favor, obviously, of the adjournment and look forward to meeting with the applicant.
All right, thank you, Ms. Hode, for that. Appreciate it. All right, so in that case, if there's no one else, we can go to a vote on this. All those in favor of adjourning to April 16th? All right, that's unanimous then. It's granted. We will see you back on April 16th, and thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, I'm going to call down, we don't have any other official ones, but I do want to call down application number 3, 271 Arlington. I'm looking for Agent Sun. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
So Mr. Sun, can you just present, please, who's with you today?
Sure, yeah. My name is Chang, and I'm a project architect. I'm living in Canada, 33 Willowland Drive.
And your companion?
I'm being project manager on this subject property.
And your address would be?
248 Huntsville Drive, Canada.
All right, thank you. The reason we called you down, Mr. Sun, is that we were looking for a full presentation from you, including the planning evidence in support of your application. And we understand from speaking with committee staff that there is no PowerPoint presentation available. Is that correct?
Correct, yeah.
All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to ask you to come back next meeting with a PowerPoint presentation because we would like to get one from you, including all of the planning evidence. And I will, Mr. Sun, I think there's some areas in your planning evidence that requires further information for us. We felt that there was some elements, and I'll give you an example as we go through this. So we'd be looking, you don't need to change your report for this, but we would certainly be looking for more justification from a planning standpoint from you in your PowerPoint presentation. So, for example, when you talk about the variance being minor, the comments that we have in your report to us are insufficient to really demonstrate the impact of the minor variances that are being requested. So you need to go through them and demonstrate in your PowerPoint presentation, if you could, please, why each one of the impacts is minor from your standpoint. We also looked at your description of the desirability, and you talk about the missing middle. That's good information, but we need a little bit more about what that definition is and how your proposal actually meets that missing middle requirement, or not requirement, but that, it's an objective. So we need to understand a little bit more about how that works. And there's, again, when you look at the zoning bylaw provisions, for each one of the variances, there's a zoning bylaw provision that you're asking for relief from. We need you to itemize how, in fact, what's being proposed is still in keeping with the spirit and intent of what that zoning bylaw provision is trying to achieve. So if you wouldn't mind coming back with us with a more fulsome with the presentation that provides us with that planning evidence, that'll help the committee immensely to understand the overall impact of the project. Do you have any questions on that?
Yeah, I was just a little surprised because before I come here, no one remind me I need the full presentation, that point. But I can do that, for sure.
Okay, so Mr. Sun, just to give you an example, there is another application on our agenda
Yeah.
that's come back that we had adjourned for exactly this reason, because there was insufficient planning evidence provided to the committee in order to really understand the proposal. They are back today, and the information that they've provided us is in fact fulsome. It's what we were looking for. So it has been the committee's practice. I want you just to be sure you understand that is the committee's practice, that if we don't have the planning evidence before us in order to consider an application, we will request the adjournment from you. Hopefully you're okay with that, because that's the information we need to make a decision.
Sure, I can agree with that. And I will follow up with the planner to get more detail.
That would be perfect. Thank you, Mr. Sun.
Yeah.
So we're proposing that we're adjourning you to the very next meeting, so to April 16th. I just need to do a couple of other things. I want to see if there's anyone in the audience, either online or in person, who wants to speak to the adjournment to April 16th, not to the merits of the application. We're talking adjournment. Come on down.
Yes.
No, sorry, you need to come up. You need to give me your names. You need to give me your addresses. There's a process.
Julie Chapdelaine?
No, sorry. So we need to make sure everybody can hear you, and the only way for that to happen is for your microphone to be on. And when I say that is we can hear you in the room.
Yeah.
It's that it doesn't come through on the people who are listening online.
Well,
So-
I just want to be clear here, we just have to agree to the adjournment for April 16th. It's not the place to voice some of our concerns with the project.
Yeah, no, we're not talking about the merits of the project at all at this point. We're just talking about an adjournment request to go to April 16th.
Sure, that's fine.
But I mean, we have to look at the agenda, so it's the 16th. Do we have a chance to decide on another date if we're not, because we were a speaker for this project. I think we gave our name and everything in advance. We didn't know it's going to be adjourned. So anyway, Julie Chapdelaine, 273 Arlington Avenue, Ottawa. So next door to the project. And my husband, Michael Majorino, same address. So the question is, if we need to speak again, we have to find out if we are available, correct?
So we try to accommodate as much as possible, but so please go ahead and give me your reasons for not accepting the April 16th, and give me a proposed date and your reasons for that date, please.
No, we just need to look at our calendar. And potentially it's all good, but we need to, so they're saying, we didn't know that we could be adjourned.
This is always a possibility.
Yeah,
So
okay,
so it's
okay.
not a guarantee that the application will be heard just because
So
it's on our
yeah,
agenda.
I guess we're gonna try to make it happen on the 16th.
Thank you very much. Truly appreciate that.
So we're gonna get a letter for that or something in
Nope,
writing?
this is your notice that
Okay,
we're now, so if we were doing sine die, then yes, there would be a new notice, but because we're doing this at the hearing itself and we're choosing a date, then no, there's no further notification to you.
1 p.m., correct?
1 p.m.
Do
We'll
we-
see you.
Sorry, last question. Do we have to resubmit our names to speak out April 16th? We did for this
no.
meeting?
Apparently not. So you're good to go for the
Okay.
very next meeting.
All right, thank you very much.
Well, thank you.
Another question. If we want to submit a document or photos or something like that, we need to do that how many days before the hearing?
As soon as you can. So for us, any new material, so Mr. Sun's presentation, we would like to make sure that we have everything in hand by the Friday before the Wednesday hearing. So I don't know
Excellent.
what that date is going back,
Right.
but if you could have it in for sure by then.
Excellent. Thank
Thank
you.
Okay, well,
Thanks.
thank you very much. Is there anyone else who wants to speak to the adjournment request? All right, I'm not seeing anybody. So members of the panel, all those in favor of an adjournment to April 16th? All right, so it's unanimous. Thank you so much, Mr. Sun, for your understanding, and we look forward to seeing you in a couple of
See
weeks.
you in 2 weeks. Thank you.
All right, so the next applications are the ones that are unopposed. And as I said, no objections, no registered speakers, no modification required, all of that. So I'm gonna read off the applications to which this will apply. And then I'll do a general call out to see if anyone has any comments on any of them. So number 2, 48 Nelson Avenue, or Nelson Street, I guess. Number 4, 317 West Hill, and 12 Champlain. Is there anyone either here today or online who would like to speak to any one of those applications? Okay, not seeing anyone. So members of the panel, all those in favor of granting each one of those applications? All right. Member Latherwick, was that a yes? Yeah, okay. All right, so it's unanimous. All of those applications are granted by the panel. So, all right, so that's takes us there. Hang on, let me catch up here. All right, so the next one that I would like to hear from, and we're going to need to see the agent on this, is number 8, 201 Rideau, looking for agent Wesley. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair. My name is actually Timothy Bede. I am a colleague of Mr. Mark Ousley, and I'll be providing a presentation if required or answering any questions you might have today.
All right, so we're at this point don't need a presentation from you. There was a couple of questions that came up, so we're just going to go to that. So, members of the panel, anyone with a question for Mr. Bede on 201 Rideau? Yes, Member Blatherwick.
This is a strata severance, I believe.
Through you, Madam Chair, it could be referenced as a strata severance. The reason we haven't specifically called that in our application is because there are certain expectations or ideas that might come along with that name. This will not be like a strata condo development. And so you could call it a horizontal severance or an air rights severance as well. It operates like a strata severance, but the ownership model and the purpose is simply for financing and operational requirements. And the two entities that are proposed to be created, being the residential rental component and the commercial hotel component, will be the only two entities. They will operate individually, but in the same building. And so there's no condo agreement, but the shared considerations will be addressed through a joint use and maintenance agreement.
Okay, thanks. And the second question is regarding the variance for the drive aisle width. Is that an existing condition, the 4-meter width?
Through you, Madam Chair, yes, that's an existing condition. The building is constructed and ready to be occupied. The 3 brief instances where the drive aisle is reduced from the 6 to the 4 meters is due to mechanical equipment and protective bollards that are only in place in very specific locations at each parking level 1, 2, and 3's ramp going up and down. And so that reduced width doesn't project or continue along into the actual parking spaces where you need room for maneuvering, simply just the corners. And in those locations, signage, mirrors, and stop bars are going to be installed to ensure there's no conflict in vehicles coming and going through those areas.
So these were changes after construction was approved. Changes made, I'm assuming.
Yeah, and through you, Madam Chair, in a sense, they were specific details that were required for the mechanical operations of the building and the location that were determined as the construction proceeded and are in place at this point. And so generally those decisions are made as the project unfolds, and unfortunately it led to a minor relief requirement in those 3 specific locations.
And you're confident that this is not going to create a, because these are two bidirectional drive aisles, correct?
Through you, Madam Chair, that is correct. There's a little bit of a nuance there in the sense that Throughout the zoning bylaw in specific situations, drive aisle width can be varied and can be significantly less wide than the 6 meters. The 6 meters within this portion of the bylaw speaks to situations where parking, the actual parking styles are angled at that 90-degree. Whereas in other instances in a parking garage, if the angles are less, the parking drive aisle width can be reduced to, I believe, as narrow as 3.7 meters. And for all intents and purposes, in these specific locations, there are no cars backing in and out. So although the bylaw doesn't specifically speak to this situation, it's more broad. The operational situation will be that of more closely related to like a parallel parking type situation where vehicles can easily navigate. But to provide for even more comfort in the operational success here, the applicant is willing to include, like I said, the mirrors, signage and stop bars. So it will operate as single use lanes with cars coming back and forth and having that opportunity to stop and then navigate the area and not coming in at the same time.
So those measures will be installed.
That's correct.
Isn't the last thing you want to do is create vehicle conflicts in a parking garage?
I agree.
It's tough enough trying to park in a parking garage.
Certainly.
Okay, thank you.
All right, anyone else? Go ahead, Member Coakley.
I'm just picking up on that point. Excuse me. Will that signage and the mirrors and whatever else be included in the joint use and maintenance agreement so that they don't disappear over time? Has that been contemplated? Or I mean, I don't think we can impose it as a condition of the variance, but it would seem to me that, you know, you put something up today, that's wonderful. Things have a habit of falling off walls, that sort of thing.
Thank you. And through you, Madam Chair, it's certainly a consideration, and the joint use and maintenance agreement is being worked out. I think it's in all parties' interest to ensure that those areas operate well. So the applicant and property manager have shared interest in the benefits of those measures, and certainly those will be implemented and maintained throughout the life of the building.
All right, is that no follow-up? Okay. Anyone else? All right. For this application, I do not have anyone on my list, my speakers list. I believe, is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak to this application, either for or against? Online, in person? No, not seeing anybody come forward. So, Mr. Bede, you've looked at all the conditions. You're okay with the conditions that are part of this application, the approval?
Thank you, Madam Chair. We do.
All right, perfect. Okay, then all those in favor of the application? Actually, for both applications, we're talking a consent and minor variance. So all those in favor of the consent, let's do it separately. So the consent application is unanimously granted. All those in favor of the minor variance application, again, it's granted unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Bede, for your time.
Thank you, Chair and Committee.
All right, thanks. All right, we have 3 files left to hear from. So we're going to go in order at this point. We're going to start with number 1, 135 Marlborough, looking for agent Paoloni.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. I'm going to ask you both to introduce yourselves, please.
Thank you. So my name is Jasmine Paoloni. I'm the agent on behalf of the owner. Do you need our address as well?
No, I believe we have yours, but
Okay.
you
And
are.
with me is Yasmin Bahadorti, same address, same company. She assisted me on this file.
All right, thank you. So in this case, we are requesting a full presentation from you if, and I understand you have one submitted.
Yes, we do. I believe that's it up
All
on the
right,
screen.
so the floor is yours.
Thank you. So yes, the application is for 135 Marlborough Avenue. We're requesting 3 minor variances related to a new single detached dwelling with an 1 ADU and its accessory structure. Next slide, please. The site is located in the downtown core transect, designated as a neighborhood. Next slide, please. It's also located in the central and east downtown core secondary plan, in which it's designated as local commercial in the Sandy Hill character area. Next slide, please. And the zoning of the property is R1TT, which permits single detached dwellings, ADUs, and their accessory structures. So we can skip the next slide and go to slide 6. Perfect. The elevation, perfect. Yeah, so most important here is the front elevation. We've got projections, recesses, varying roof lines, windows, all of which contribute to the articulation and visual interest of the streetscape. And I do want to mention the pitched roof was chosen to align closely with the neighborhood characteristics, and it takes inspiration from many other dwellings on this street. Next slide, please. So as you can see, all of the 4 facades of the main house have been designed with varying materials, such as siding and brick, as well as windows, ensuring that no facades are blank. And the rear facade, which you'll see on the left, features the rear deck, which is located 5 steps from grade. And I just want to note that there are no balconies proposed in this design. Next slide, please. So these are the elevations of the accessory structure. So the elevations for the rear and the right side are blank, so no windows or doors. And the reason for that is those are the facades that abut the side and rear lot lines. And the accessory structure is designed to be a workshop for use by the owners who do a lot of carpentry and woodworking and such. So we can skip to slide 12 with the site plan. Perfect, thank you. So as a summary, the variances that we're requesting, the first one is for a deck projection in the rear yard. And so this is an increased projection of 1.28 meters for a total of 3.28 meters into the rear yard, whereas the permitted maximum is 2 meters. The building height is an increase of 0.84 meters, which is from the 8.5 permitted building height, so for a total of 9.34 meters. And the decrease in accessory structure setback from the required 0.6 meters to 0.23 meters, being a difference of 0.37. And we'll just stay on this slide. I can go through the test 1 for each variance. So the deck variance is triggered because it is located more than 0.6 meters above grade. If it had been 0.6 meters or less above grade, the projection is unlimited into the rear yard. The deck is also screened from the public realm. It's located completely in the rear yard, shielded by the single detached dwelling. And the property to the right, or sorry, to the left, features a rear yard accessory structure as well, which completely shields our deck from any sort of overlook into the neighboring property. And I do want to say that these neighbors have also voiced their support for the application. We do still meet any soft landscaping requirements, and there is sufficient area for tree planting in the rear yard, even with the increased projection for the deck. For the building height, the variance is triggered due to the specific pitch of the roof and the required basement elevation. If this had been designed as a flat roof, it would be compliant with building height. However, we know that based on streetscape characteristics and the neighborhood character, a flat roof would not be acceptable. And for the accessory structure setback, we are actually improving on existing conditions. The existing structure in the same location where this one is proposed currently encroaches onto the neighboring property by 0.22 meters. And so the 0.23 meter setback that we're proposing is actually to the edge of the overhang, not to the building wall. And so this is basically just to ensure that any drainage or overhang is completely maintained on our subject property. And if I have time, I can go through the rest of the tests. I don't know.
Yes, go ahead.
Where I'm at.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So you can switch to the next slide. Okay, so for test 2, the development is appropriate.
No, go ahead.
Okay. The development is appropriate for the development of the land. The design is a pitched roof, which enhances the architectural character of the streetscape. It ensures compatibility with neighboring properties. We have sufficient rear yard for landscaping and outdoor use, meeting the intent of the guidelines while having functional rear yard for the residents. The proposed uncovered deck maintains 5.3 meters depth in the rear yard for open space. And the design aligns with the streetscape character analysis requirements, representing only a slight increase in unit density compared to the existing dwelling. Next slide, please. Regarding test 3, this proposal aligns with official plan policies in section 2 relating to intensification and the 15-minute neighborhood, section 4.6 relating to urban and site design, section 5.1 relating to the downtown core transect, as well as section 6.3 for neighborhoods. And then regarding the secondary plan, we follow policies in sections 2.1 relating to the local neighborhood designation, as well as 3.1 built form and 4.7 related to the Sandy Hill character area. And I will note that our property is not a heritage property, nor is it abutting or within 30 meters of a heritage property. And regarding test 4, the proposed deck will not intrude onto any neighboring, will not intrude on the neighbor's privacy, as its view is effectively screened, as I said, by the neighboring garage. And there is the remaining 5.3 meters in the rear yard for open space and soft landscaping. For the building height, the height is to ensure compliance with OBC requirements for lighting and access or egress out of the basement, as well as for the pitched roof. And for the accessory structure, the actual edge of the building will be located even further than the 0.23. It'll actually be 0.45 meters from the property line. And so the overhang and any drainage will be completely contained, as I said, on the subject property. And I believe that's the end of the presentation. I did just want to also make a request that in the decision, if the specific wording that was included in the cover letter could be included in the decision, being that the plans filed the decision is tied to the plans filed, but specifically as they relate to the variances. I don't know if that's possible.
All right, thank you. We'll consider that when we get to that part. Ms. Maloney, 2 things though. Do you have any photographic evidence to demonstrate for the building height, the actual compatibility of what you're proposing with neighboring structures?
So we do have photos of the properties included in the streetscape character analysis, which would be 21 photos on the street on slide 11. Granted, they are a little small. If the coordinator could put that on the screen. To slide 11. The streetscape. Yeah, there you go. So there are a number of 2-story semi-detached dwellings across the street from the subject property, but the majority of the houses along our side of Marlborough Avenue and on either side of those semi-detached are feature pitched roofs.
Can I just ask the coordinator to zoom in a little bit on that for us, please? Just a little bit more on the other side so we can see the 133, 137 Marlborough and maybe the top ones. Okay, thank you. The only other question, Ms. Paloni, at this point is there are a number of concerns about the application. Can you just briefly describe what your consultation process was with the neighborhood?
Yes, of course. So the owners have discussed directly the proposal with their abutting neighbors. I believe the neighbor to the rear as well, but I'm not sure on that. And I know we have letters of support from the neighbors on either side. We've also prepared a summary of the application with the front elevation and the site plan that was distributed to about 20 to 30 properties, including the ones highlighted on the streetscape character analysis slide, but then also on the rear, abutting the rear yard of the subject property. And we have had some back and forth since the hearing, since those comments have come in with some of the letters of opposition, as well as some of the letters of support from neighbors.
All right, thank you. So at this point, questions, member Coakley.
So just basically to follow up on your questions, Madam Chair. So as I understand it, the three properties that, sorry, if you just leave the slide the way it is though for a second, the three properties that would be affected by the deck and the additional structure either side and behind have been discussed, and they are all in support of or at least not opposed to to what you're trying to do. Is that correct?
Through you, Madam Chair, yes. So the neighbors at 133 Marlborough and 137 have submitted letters of support. I don't believe the neighbor to the rear that directly abuts our property has commented.
But to the best of your knowledge, they're not opposed.
They have been notified. They had yeah, as far as I know, they haven't opposed.
And just following up on the height issue, fair enough. I can see, yes, there are a number of of homes in this area that have got peaked roofs. Are you able to give a sort of an assessment how much higher this particular peaked roof would be compared to the other ones? Like, is it going to be the equivalent of another story, or is it going to be, half a meter difference, a quarter of a meter difference?
Thank you. Through you, Madam Chair. The effect of the pitched roof is essentially, I don't have the exact dimensions, but it would be about 0.75 meters, like as if it was a flat roof compared to a pitched roof. But I will note there are a number of other two-story dwellings that have additional stories within their roofs that project out that give the effect of a three-story, even though just like this development, it is a two-story.
Okay. Thank you.
Other questions from the committee? No, he's not there. That's right. Okay, well, if there's no other questions from the committee, then I think we can go to the public portion. And I do believe we have, we may have some, I thought we had some speakers, but we have a number of comments either in support or in opposition. I'm going to make the call out then. Is there anyone in the audience, in person or online, who would like to speak to this application, either for or against?
Madam Chair, we do have one speaker online.
All right, thank you. Good afternoon. We don't see you.
Oh, I'm online, but I'm here as an observer. I hope you're not the one that you're referring to as the attendee.
I don't know. Can we get confirmation, see if there's a speaker who would like to address?
I believe it's Ms. Zasbo.
All right, so Ms. Sasbo, can you hear us, and can you turn on your video? Are we just having to wait for her to accept? No?
No, it appears she's online. She may be muted on her end. We can put up the slide for her to call in if she'd like.
How about we do that? Give her a chance to do that. Oh, there we go. Okay. So Ms. Sasbo, can you unmute your mic, please?
Okay, can you let me know if you can hear me now?
Yes, it's perfect. Now we can see and hear you. That's wonderful. Thank you.
Great. Sorry, I had to call in on another device. When they tried to switch me, somehow it got lost. But thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you to the committee. I'm speaking on behalf of 17 residents who have submitted a letter to the committee, and I believe that you would have had a chance to all read the 4 main concerns that we have raised in that letter. I will only therefore briefly speak to those. I will start with just a context point, which is that I understand that these are minor variances that are being requested in terms of this development. But just putting it in to make sure we're all realizing that this is in the context of demolishing a pre-1958 structure, demolishing what would be an affordable house, putting it in landfill in order to create this larger structure. So our submission with the 4 that addresses the 4 minor variance issues in particular, in our view of the 17 residents I am speaking on behalf of, does not meet the spirit nor the intent of the Central and East Downtown Core Secondary Plan, and we outlined 4 reasons for that. Let's start with non-compliance with heritage objectives. We beg to differ from the planning application and the speakers just before this. In fact, the way that the structure would look would be quite different from what is there now. And we believe that according to the various sections in the secondary plan, that again, this does not serve to preserve the heritage character. Yes, we understand that this is not within the Sandy Hill Cultural Heritage character area. It is 30 meters away from that. So that 30 meters of difference is something that we would bring to the attention of the committee. Secondly, and again, related is the negative impact of the proposed dwelling once the old structure is demolished and this new structure is put in, the negative impact on the scale of the neighborhood as well as the visual harmony. Connected with that, the much larger structure overall in terms of the neighborhood, we believe that this would raise concerns in terms of privacy and quality of life. We have indicated that in the submission to you that this does not, it is not in line with the principles of the secondary plan, which prioritizes this. And then finally, there is a risk of setting a precedent here on this kind of a street, again, right near the cultural heritage character area, that this these minor variances do potentially set a precedent. And in our neighborhood in particular, which has seen, let's just say, some rampant development over the years, this does raise a particular concern. So we urge the committee to look at the city policies, again, particularly the regulations, and within this context of actually demolishing what would be an affordable heritage house. And that on that basis, the 17 residents have come together to outline in detail these concerns with all the different elements of the Central and East Downtown Core Secondary Plan. Thank you for your consideration.
All right, thank you, Ms. Aswell. Don't go away. I'm going to see whether or not any of the panel members have questions, follow-up questions for you. Okay, so Ms. Aswell, you've been a resident of that area for how long?
Yes, sorry. And I realized that in all the confusion of getting online, I didn't say. Sue Sabo, I'm a resident at 146 Marlborough Avenue. I have been in the neighborhood now for, I believe it's now 25 years. And I will say that many of the fellow residents who signed the letter have actually been here, some of them longer than myself, in the neighborhood. And so, again, we have all come together as neighbors because we do spend a great deal of time looking at and caring for our neighborhood and its particular character.
All right, I've got a map here with some municipal addresses, and I just want to get a sense. We know where essentially these letters of support have come in, but when you reference, I think you said 11, 13 different residents that you're speaking on behalf of?
17.
17, my apologies. Which municipal addresses in particular. Can you just give me maybe another 5 so I have some idea of how they relate to the location of the subject property?
I could, honestly, I don't remember exactly what the numbers are. I can give you the names. But if you look at if we put that, slide back up, because the letter that we sent in, I don't actually have all oh, wait a minute. Yes, I do. Hold on. Okay. I can just list a few of them for you. 126, 127, 128 Marlborough, 134, 136, 124, 125, 131, 159, 161, 146 Marlborough Avenue, as well as 389 Templeton Street, which is just up the road and around the corner. So as you can see, that's in some of these cases, there's more than one person at the dwelling, but there's a whole list of people on the street who are not in favor.
All right, thank you for that. In fact, Member Coakley did assist me with that as well. Does sound like a lot of the opposition is from residents living directly across from the subject property, based on the addresses that you gave me.
Along the street, because you have the odd numbers and the even numbers, so that you can see that in fact it's pretty evenly distributed, people across the street as well as along the street on the same side as the proposed development.
All right, thank you for that. Okay, if no one has any questions for Ms. Sasbo, thank you so much for your time today. Going to make another call out. Is there anyone else who would like to speak to the committee, either for or against? Okay. With that, then, I'm going to give the members a chance for any further clarification questions. Member Blatherick?
I'm just wondering if the applicant's agent could articulate how this application conforms to the secondary plan.
Sure, through you.
Whether or not this house has heritage status, it's either on the list or it's designated.
Of course, through you, Madam Chair. It is not designated under Part 4 or Part 5 of the Ontario Heritage Act.
Okay.
We are about 75 meters from the closest property designated under Part 4 and about 300 meters from the closest area designated under Part 5.
Okay.
And we are approximately 94 meters from the Sandy Hill Cultural Heritage Character Area. To go through the policies of the secondary plan, we did submit an addendum cover letter. I don't know if the panel members had seen or reviewed that. The policies of the secondary plan were omitted from the original cover letter by mistake. The policies are fully addressed in the addendum cover letter that was submitted on the 27th. But I can go through those as well.
Yes, briefly, if you wouldn't mind.
Sure. So under section 2.1, the local neighborhood designation, it speaks to permitting small scale, primarily residential uses, as well as some small scale other non-residential uses. So obviously as a residential building, this meets that policy. 3.1, talking about the built form, discusses entrances at the main level, accesses to the public realm, usable indoor and outdoor amenity area, porches, patios, lack of blank walls, and vehicular facilities being minimized. So we're confident that the development meets all of these objectives. You know, we have the front facing entranceway with a covered porch, visual articulation. The driveway that's proposed is currently on the property. We're not proposing any changes to it. And we do have area for indoor and outdoor amenity area, you know, being the accessory structure, but also the green space in the rear yard. In terms of I believe the letter of opposition references section 3.4, which is a policy that discusses properties that are aimed to be designated. Sorry, 3.4 discusses properties that are in proximity to areas designated under Part 4 or Part 5. As I had discussed, we are outside of that 30-meter area. Section 4.7 for the Sandy Hill character area. 4.7.1 discusses properties that would be evaluated for heritage designation, which is not what it's not a heritage property and we're not looking to designate it. 4.7.2 talks about the general objectives of that area being to preserve Sandy Hills, an attractive residential neighborhood. We're confident that the development accomplishes this, especially for family living. To accept a modest increase in population, I believe our development is a gentle intensification representing one primary unit and one additional dwelling unit. 4.7.6 discusses the specific scale, form, and proportion and spatial arrangement of the new development. In regards to the current dwelling that's on the site, we're maintaining the side yard setbacks or even increasing the side yard setback on the driveway side. So visually from the street, the proportion of building width to lot width will be near identical. And Sandy Hill building heights, the number of stories permitted is actually 4 stories in this area. And so we are 2 stories with a height of 9.34. And I believe that's all.
Any follow-on questions?
Nope, that's all. Thank you very much.
All right. I have a couple of questions actually myself. Oh, sorry, Member Dakege, go ahead.
You can go first, Madam Chair. You answered one of my questions, which was the, we heard the comments about that this is a large structure, but you mentioned that the building envelope is more or less. I see on the application here, there are no side yard setbacks. We see a lot of those when we get these types of applications. So I just wanted kind of that confirmation. So thank you. I did have a question about the additional dwelling unit. Is this like a 1-bedroom, a 2-bedroom? Is this being rented out? Is this kind of with a family member, or maybe you haven't made that decision, but just kind of curious, given the comment from I'll call it the joint neighbors letter about, the destruction of an affordable unit, but I see here that we are adding a unit. So I just kind of wanted a bit of more information about that, please.
Of course, through you, Madam Chair. I unfortunately don't have the floor plans in front of me. I believe it's a 1-bedroom. It could be a 2-bedroom. The homeowners at the time, they live at the dwelling, and they will continue to live at the dwelling. This is the plan for their future is this home. I don't believe there's been any discussion whether the additional dwelling unit will be rented to family members, friends, or other people. I'm not sure.
Further questions? No? All right, so I just wanted to
add some
sorry,
more.
no, Mr. Gouvernement, we're just going to finish with the questions from the panel members, if you wouldn't mind. I'll give you a couple of minutes after we're done asking our questions if you want to add something at that point.
Very good, thanks.
All right, so just can we have the site plan brought back up, please? While the site plan is coming back up, just one minor question on the side. The accessory building you said was going to be used for a workshop, essentially. There's no home-based business going on here at all, right? Just for record.
No, that's correct. No home-based business.
Okay. So I just want to look at sort of the functionality of that amenity space and reaching that amenity space based on the variances that you're requesting. It looks like the space between what would be the deck and that accessory building, and then the amenity space, if I'm seeing this correctly, is actually difficult to or it seems to be difficult to access. Can you explain to me how that would work? Because if I understand things correctly, we're down to like 0.23 of a meter between the deck and the accessory building. Is that correct?
Through you, Madam Chair, we actually have a walkway of 0.91 meters that goes between the edge of the deck and the accessory structure. It might be easier to see on slide 12, the slide with the variances listed. So here you can see the deck is shaded in the dark gray hatch, and then we have a width of 0.91, and then the accessory structure with the overhang listed as the dashed line.
Sorry, and where's the walkway on this?
It follows the notch of the accessory structure. So there's there's the steps that lead from the driveway to the deck. And then the walkway follows the notch of the accessory structure.
So again, I guess maybe if we can zoom in on it, I'll see it a little bit better. But I'm still trying to figure out how you get around the deck to use the amenity area, essentially. And are you saying that the walkway then is actually to the, what would be the left of the proposed dwelling?
No, that would not be the walkway. So coming up on the right side of the property, you would go along the stairs towards the rear lot line, and then to the left, to the left into the green space, to the left of the accessory structure. So you kind of zigzag around the deck.
Yes, but isn't that where the 0.23 meters is left around that area?
No, it's 0.91. It's, the dimension is demonstrated on the site plan that was filed.
Okay. Others seem to be clear on this, but I guess based on just the variances and we're not seeing that dimension necessarily in order to confirm that, but so the deck projects essentially 3.28. So the edge of the deck, you're also moving the accessory structure back from what's required. All right, now I'm saying you're saying that area between the deck and the front notched area, what is that dimension, just so that I'm clear?
0.91.
All right, so almost a meter. So you can get a lawnmower back there, you can walk back there.
Yes, exactly.
All right, okay, thank you. Just wanted to be completely clear on that. Any other questions? All right, Mr. Gouvernement, I think. Did you have some comments you wanted to provide?
Yes, Gouvernement. Madam Chair, there was a question that you asked earlier about the additional dwelling unit and who intends to live there. That is a one-bedroom apartment and it's going to be for my mother-in-law. She expressed a desire to live with us in our Sandy Hill neighborhood, and we accommodated that by building a separate apartment for her.
All right, thank you. Member Luque, is that satisfactory? Okay. All right, thank you for that information.
Yeah.
All right, that's it, I think, in terms of the questions we've heard, I think, from everyone in the area. So,
Madam Chair, sorry that we did have a last minute speaker that asked.
all right, thank you. Who are we? Online? Yeah, of course.
Yes, online. Mr. Lemieux.
Hey, Mr. Lemieux, you are on mute, so yeah, and remember, I'll need your full name and full address.
Oui, bonjour. Mon nom est Pierre-Olivier Lemieux. Je suis résident au 128 Marlborough, qui est juste en diagonale du projet du 135 Marlborough. J'avais juste, on a répondu à plusieurs des questions que j'avais, sauf que j'en avais peut-être une dernière. Au niveau du zonage, je m'y connais pas beaucoup, je suis vraiment pas familier, mais au niveau de la hauteur permise, j'ai remarqué qu'on a proposé des photos qui étaient l'autre côté de la rue, où, si ma compréhension est bonne, le zonage fait que c'est plus haut, donc la hauteur est permise est plus haut, ce qui vient un petit peu là supporter la position que ça établirait un précédent négatif au niveau de la hauteur permis du côté du 135 Marlborough, qui n'est pas la même que la hauteur permise de ce que je comprends qui serait l'autre côté de la rue, sur les photos qui ont été proposées. Là.
Je crois qu'on avait eu une analyse de les propriétés qui sont d'abord à côté et devant la propriété qui est sujet là, à notre application. I'm going to ask to bring back up the streetscape analysis if we could. Qu'est-ce que je vais demander, Mme Pardoni, c'est de nous dire exactement dans celle-là, ça c'est, non, c'est, oh, this is it. Can you just zoom in on it a little bit, please? Alors, Ms. Paglioni, the question from our speaker is, in these photographs that you've provided, can you confirm for us that these houses are in fact within that streetscape, and specifically speaking to the building height, minor variance request, that in fact you have chosen photographs here that correspond to that streetscape analysis?
Through you, Madam Chair, yes, all of the photos included on this slide are outlined in the map, also on the slide. Is that the question?
Oui, d'accord. Monsieur Lemieux, est-ce que vous êtes d'accord avec ça ou trouvez-vous que peut-être que c'est pas représentatif de...
Yeah, maybe I'll try to say in English. My understanding is that the houses across the street have a different zonage height, which would not fairly represent the proposed plan on the impaired, if I can say, impaired number of the civic numbers of the street where 135 is located. So it's two different zonage, if I understood correctly, but I'm in no way familiar with these zonage situation.
Okay, Ms. Horn, need from you if you could just confirm what the building height requirements is on the, I'm going to say the east side of Marlborough versus the west side, please.
Thank you, Madam Tremblay. So it's zoned R4 UA across the street, and so the maximum height would be 10 meters for detached dwellings, along with 10 meters for semi-detached, and then 11 meters for a low-rise apartment building in the R4 UA zone.
All right, so some of those photographs then that we're seeing across the street are actually subject to a higher building height provision.
Yes, that is correct.
All right. Okay, Member Coakley.
Just sort of on that point, so for my own understanding, if this house were to be built on the other side of the street, it would be then compliant with the height. Is that correct? Am I understanding that correctly?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, thank you.
Est-ce que cela répond à tes questions, Monsieur Lemieux?
Oui, merci beaucoup.
Avez-vous d'autres choses?
Non, ça va, je vous remercie.
Okay, merci beaucoup. Anyone else? No one else online? Okay, so I am going to guess that we are reserving on this so that we can have further discussion. All right, so Ms. Paglioni, we are reserving. You will get the decision, as you know, in due course nonetheless. So thank you for your time today. Any closing comments, Ms. Paglioni?
Yes, thank you. Through you, Madam Chair. I do just want to say that we, despite the change in zoning across the streetscape character is still prevalent on both sides. The pitched roof and the increase in zoning height would still be considered appropriate in our opinion. You know, there are no changes to the driveway location, and like I said, the building's form on the site will remain virtually the same as the existing structure. There's no significant trees to be removed, and the building height increase that we're asking for is less than 1 meter, and it's in order to meet the character of the neighborhood. We know there was a flat roof design done on the neighborhood on that side of the street a little while ago, and it did cause some uproar with the community, including our clients, and so we did not want to go that route, and that's why we ended up with the pitched roof design. But we do believe that the development aligns with the city's policy goals in the secondary plan NOP with, you know, additional housing choices and context sensitive design. Thank you.
All right, and just to confirm, you want the approval, if it goes that way, to be tied to the variances?
Yeah, so if the wording, if approved, would be that the plans filed would be specifically tied to the decision as they relate to the variances. And that's just to allow the clients as they move through the building permit, if there are any changes to specific window locations or size, so that they have the flexibility to do that.
All right. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, that takes us to the next application. All right, we're going to take a 5-minute break before we get on to the next application, which will be item 5, 319 Shakespeare. So we'll see you back here at 2:10. Hey, we're back. Nous sommes de retour. With that, then, as I mentioned, the next application is item 5319 Shakespeare. Come on down. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the committee.
So from the committee, I think we wanted a presentation on this one, Mr. Hume.
Okay.
Yes, let's go ahead with the presentation, please.
So this is a minor variance application to increase the number of units in a low-rise apartment building from 8 units to 10 units. It's in an R4 UA zone, and we've given you, we've provided you with some context around the zoning parameters and how the building as it's currently configured meets or and in some cases exceeds the requirements of the zoning parameters for a low-rise apartment building. You know, if you look, lot width, quite a large lot area. And when you start to look at some of the other parameters like rear yard area, you see that the rear yard area is actually at 30%, whereas in the R4 UA zone, it's at 25%. All this leading you to understand that the addition of 2 units is not at the outer limits of the zoning parameters for a low-rise apartment building, but that the lot and the building size is appropriate for the additional units. And if you look at the next page, you get a little more context when you look in the existing neighborhood. There are abutting zones that allow, for example, 12-unit buildings. And when you match the characteristics of this lot against those lots, you see that, again, we're exceeding in those main areas of lot area and lot width, those large or those provisions of the zoning bylaw. So from a lot area context and from the building on the site, you can see that actually the additional units that are being proposed don't constrain or aren't constrained against a building or a lot that is bumping up against the zoning criteria. You've got a larger rear lot area, you've got larger widths, you've got a larger lot in which to accommodate those units. And what else I want to bring to the committee's attention is that the zoning bylaw as it exists today is an implementation tool of an official plan that no longer exists. It's no longer in force in effect. The new official plan, which is what is in force and effect right now, has with it, or will have in very short order, a new zoning bylaw attached to it, which is the implementation tool for those policies in the official plan. So when you look at this particular site in the new zoning bylaw, it gives you, it's a neighborhood zone, and it gives you a density calculation of what the new official plan expects to have or to be accommodated on in this particular site, actually this site. And in that new zoning bylaw, what it says is that the maximum number of dwelling units is 2.2 units per 100 square meters of lot area to a maximum of 10. And so when you apply that zoning criteria, you would come up with a unit count of actually 11. So you'd reach your maximum of 10. So in very short period of time, sometime later this year and early next year, 10 units will be an as of right unit count for this site. And the reason I mention that is because it is it represents conformity to the official plan. So the unit count that we're proposing is in conformity to the official plan as it exists today. And as you can see, the staff comments, they've reviewed this and against the 4 tests outlined in section 45.1, and they are satisfied that the application meets the 4 tests. Now, we've had some resident comments, of course, and we want to respond to some of those. And so a couple of the comments have said, listen, focus on providing larger units for families, more 2 to 3 bedroom units to meet neighborhood needs as this existing stock is renewed. So the current mix in the development is 2 bachelors, 2 1-bedrooms, 4 2-bedrooms, and 2 3-bedroom units. So 60% of the proposed units are 2 bedrooms or larger, and it provides a very good unit mix to meet the goals in the area, and all within an 8-unit zoning or an 8-unit building footprint. There are the other issues raised: damaging homes and foundations, not enough parking. Parking is not required in this this zone for any for 12 units or under. So we meet that. Other comments were, do we meet the height restrictions and fire codes? And of course, the proposal is zoning compliant from a height perspective, and all fire codes will be adhered to when the building permit is issued. So when you look at the 4 tests, the 4 tests relate to, is the variance minor? The variance in our opinion is minor. It doesn't increase the building footprint. It's the same building as it would be if it was 8 units, and the additional impact on adjacent properties, there really isn't one. If there is an impact, it's on the functionality of those units in the lot that exist. And I think we're demonstrating, because it's a bigger lot with a larger rear yard area, that the lot has the lot width and lot area to accommodate the additional dwelling. The variance is desirable for the appropriate development and use of the property. It's a sensitive infill development, and it meets the city's intensification and housing goals as contemplated in the official plan, contributing density that supports a 15-minute neighborhood. Is the purpose and intent of the zoning bylaw maintained? Well, the intent of the zoning bylaw is to provide a low-rise apartment building of a certain scale, and the performance standards of the zoning bylaw are designed as such. In broad measures, the zoning bylaw performance standards are met with the building as it's proposed. The only issue is of internal configuration, which really isn't captured by the zoning bylaw at its broadest point. So it's our opinion that the intent and purpose of the bylaw is maintained, and the general purpose and intent of the official plan is maintained. I think we've demonstrated that you know, as you look at the official plan and the policies that are applicable, and the implementation tool, which is the new zoning bylaw. The new zoning bylaw says that 10 units in this location is appropriate, and as a result, by its very nature, it's implementing the policies of the official plan. So, Madam Chairman, that is our submission.
All right, thank you, Mr. Hume. I was, you know, when I read your 4 tests in your report, I thought it seemed quite, how am I going to say this? A little short on planning, evidence and explanation, but in your presentation, you did provide some of the context and some of the information that we need that helps us wrap our minds a little bit better around these 4 tests. So thank you for adding that. With that, then I'm going to open it up directly to the committee members for questions. Not seeing any questions here. All right, I'm going to go to Ms. Who? All right, is it Ms. Horn? All right, Ms. Horn. So we heard from Mr. Hume that I'm not sure what the echo is. From Mr. Hume that in fact, so going from 8 to 10 is going to be in keeping with what it seems the draft provisions are pointing to. Can you just give us sort of your thoughts on how this will relate to sort of the future zoning condition that's being proposed? I understand it's not in effect, but just to give us an idea of what the direction is.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, the direction of the new zoning bylaw is, as Mr. Hume said, it would be moving towards allowing more units as of right.
And would that
Generally.
include any more stringent provisions with regards to either side yards or rear yards? So in other words, yes, you're increasing maybe the number of units, but would that also entail perhaps more greater restrictions from a zoning standpoint?
Thank you, Madam Tremblay. I believe that is correct. I won't speak to specifics because it's not in effect yet, and there are some. It is subject to change, but generally, they're looking to regulate or move from sort of regulating the form specifically to looking at the number of units and while preserving soft landscaping.
Okay, so, all right. Member Coakley, I'm going to go to Ms. O'Connell.
Yeah, to follow up, it may well be that Ms. O'Connell is in the best place to answer the question to the extent that it can be answered. So Mr. Hume has basically said to us, and fair enough, I take that assuming the new zoning bylaw comes into effect, this would be completely zoning compliant. That's kind of your pitch to us. To the best of your knowledge, or Ms. O'Connell, is that a correct statement in the sense that he's identified all of the other zoning requirements that the building meets in terms of setbacks and percentage of space and parking? I mean, to the best of your knowledge, if the bylaw gets passed as it is currently in draft, would this project still meet all of the requirements, or are there possibly some requirements in the new bylaw that might cause some problems? Is that I mean, do you understand my question? Which may not be fair to ask you because you don't know what the bylaw is going to be. That is up to City Council. I get that. But given the draft at the moment.
How about we go to Ms. O'Connell?
Yes, and you're right in the fact that we can't speak to the specifics of this zone, and we haven't done a comparison because we aren't doing that on a bylaw that's not in effect and is still under revision right now. But just speaking in generalities, I wanted to mention that I think my understanding from speaking with my colleagues is when the new zoning bylaw was taking a look at consolidating certain zones, they were in fact looking at the most flexible zoning in terms of side yard setbacks and that to that respect. So my general understanding is, if anything, I don't have reason to believe that the number of units wouldn't be increasing on here, but I don't think there's a move towards increasing, for example, rear yard setbacks or side yard setbacks. In addition to that, they're looking at more either retaining those setback provisions, those performance standards, or actually reducing them in some cases, those requirements.
Perfect. That's, I think, the answer that we're both hoping to get more information about. So excellent. Member Lecaillé.
Through you, Madam Chair. Yeah, on your application, you've got examples of 321, 325 Shakespeare, as well as 327 and 329. You mentioned that they're multi-unit, but do you have an idea of how many units are in these, as given those are the evidence of the examples?
The examples were actually more to a form based, like what the form on the street was, because what we were trying to demonstrate was that this is going to be a standard 8-unit building. But internally it will be 10 units, so it will not be out of character with the units that you see along the street. It's not going to be higher, fatter, and bigger. And so that's what we were trying to demonstrate in that regard, that all of the change is going to happen internally. So if you were to stand on the street and look at an 8-unit building, and a 10-unit building, they'd be exactly the same.
Just as a follow-up, similar but different question of the parking. Can you speak to, is this the one with the parking? Or I might be mixing it up, hold on. Oh, no, it is the one, page 7. The turning radius, can you just speak to the functionality of that's been?
So we added turning templates to the site plan to ensure that both of them, both cars could come out and turn and come out the asphalt laneway. So turning templates were added to the site plan, and I can add them to we added them in one parking stall. I can add them to the other and submit that to the committee to show that they both work.
I guess my question was whether like a standard was applied or whether it's just a like, did someone actually do the radius?
Yes,
Or is it
yes.
just like,
No.
look, it can turn. Like, I want to know if someone actually did those kind of measurements.
Yes, those are actual turning templates to demonstrate that an actual car, it's not a decal we threw on the site plan. I understand.
Just wanted to confirm.
Yes, of course.
Any further questions from anyone? Okay, well, if there's no further questions, then I think we'll go to public portion. I don't believe there's any speakers for this. Is there anyone in the audience or online who would like to speak to this application? Now's your chance. Is there, sorry.
Sorry.
Didn't know what was going on there for a minute. So no one, I don't see anyone come forward. Okay. All right. So members of the committee, I think we can vote on this. Oh, member Kecklicken, go ahead.
May I ask a question of clarification, Madam Chair?
Yes, go ahead.
In your presentation, sir, you mentioned 2-bedroom, 1-bedroom, and 2 3-bedroom. In your proposal on page 10, it says 2-bedroom plus den. I just want to make it clear that am I assuming that they're the same
They're equivalent,
thing?
yes.
Equivalent?
That's my understanding. We went back and clarified with the designer that they would be 2 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms. One could function as the option could function as a den, or it can function as a bedroom.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
All right, member Dickey.
Sorry, just a follow up on that. Were any of I think yours application was talking about missing middle. Are any of these units being proposed under going to be like quote unquote affordable housing in terms of under a specific agreement with the city or another entity?
Not that I'm aware of. Sorry, I shouldn't say that they're not, that the smaller units aren't going to be affordable in accordance with CMHC criteria, but they're not going to be affordable under an agreement with the city of Ottawa.
That's my question.
Right.
Thank you.
Any final words, Mr. Hume?
The only thing that I'd like to raise, Madam Chair, before you vote is there's an odd condition that you're being asked to impose with respect to rooftop storage. And I've talked with the designers about rooftop storage, and we're just going to seek a little bit of clarity because it's a bit of an odd condition. We wouldn't normally see a condition like that because if it was zoning compliant, we wouldn't. We would just be able to add a grading and drainage plan. And under the new zoning bylaw, we wouldn't have to provide this rooftop storage. And one of the things we're not quite sure of is, like, is it just a little rooftop storage, or is it all the rooftop storage, or is it, because it just says rooftop storage, right? And so, we're having trouble. First of all, we don't think we need rooftop storage. We think we can manage that, but the challenge is, like, what is the expectation from the city with respect? Is it just provide some rooftop storage and be done with it? I mean, if that's it, we can work with that.
All right, well, we will get clarification from planning staff. I've seen rooftop storage as a requirement before in the past. This isn't new to the committee. But Ms. Horn, if you would be able to provide some clarification as to where that condition came from.
Thank you, Madame Tremblay. So essentially, the city, as you know, has the authority through the Planning Act in imposing conditions. And so we're looking to do so here as an opportunity to manage the stormwater, given the increase in impervious surfaces on the site that's being proposed and, you know, the anticipated changes to the surrounding area as well. It was chosen because it's a good candidate because it has a flat roof. And it's according to the engineers who requested it, they're looking for essentially a low-cost, relatively unintrusive solution. And so essentially, because this is a good opportunity to impose it, that's why we're looking for it here.
And is there any history of stormwater management issues in the area that we're aware of?
Thank you, Madame Tremblay. Essentially, the site is, due to the grading of the site, it is more on the top of the slope of the street. And so, and then there are quite a few anticipated changes to the surrounding area. So this is just the city trying to be preemptively addressing stormwater. But of course, it's up to the committee if they would like to impose it.
It's just interesting because we don't typically see conditions imposed with minor variances, but we're into a different world, right? In terms of intensification, asking for a lot more units, that kind of thing, allowing for, I mean, if in fact the direction of zoning bylaw will be not to increase for, say, for example, rear yard setbacks or side yard setbacks, then the reality is more people, more things going on, and possibly this is a way for the municipality to deal with some of the stormwater management issues. So I don't know. So I'm thinking about how are you going to clear this?
Well,
and because we don't really know what the scope of the requirement is.
I could potentially answer that. If it's helpful.
You've enunciated the problem very clearly. How do you, so the zoning, the minor variance is approved. So it's not like, we don't think it's like a consent where you're clearing and then you're implementing the consent. So the minor variance is approved, you submit a building permit. We're assuming that at the building permit stage, engineering would have to say, yeah, we're satisfied with this, therefore now you're zoning compliant. But it's the context around like rooftop storage. It's very generic, and to be fair, we see a lot of stormwater conditions, mostly on consent applications, rarely on minor variances. So it was just a little bit of how much, like, is it half the roof? Is that satisfactory to clear that condition? A quarter of the roof? Like, we don't, and that's part of, because it's just rooftop storage.
So Mr.
right?
Hume, we
Sorry.
have Mr. Ireland who's got his hand up, and I'm hoping Mr. Ireland's with the city's infrastructure group.
I am with the city, but not with the infrastructure group. I'm fulfilling the same role as Erin O'Connell, so planner 3. But I can potentially answer about the condition and the nature of it.
Go ahead, Mr. Ireland.
So the condition's written to be quite flexible as to how much and what type of rooftop storage. I think it's up to the engineer who prepares the plan and then to the city reviewer to decide how much is needed and how much is appropriate. So present what you think is necessary or what you think is required, and we would assess that.
Mr. Ireland, can you describe what that roof top stormwater management system might look like? And like, so we're just trying to get a sense of what the scale of this could be. Like, are we looking at a lot of expensive equipment? Are we looking at, what is it exactly?
I'm not an engineer, but speaking to our engineer, she suggested it was fairly cost effective and certainly could work within the current plans. It would not be obtrusive or expensive is what the impression I got.
All right, so Mr. Hume, we're it's a new one on us too. We'll get clarity from city staff going forward, but I don't think that if we leave it, that it's going to become, you know, tremendously difficult for you. It sounds like there's some flexibility involved in all this. So I guess my inclination would be to leave it. Thoughts from the rest of the panel, but I think that that's what we would do if you're comfortable.
Madam Chair, I'm not going to stand in the way of an approval on this point, so.
All right, thank you, Mr. Hume. All right, so you've had your chance with final words. We're ready for a vote. Mr. Ireland, is your hand up again, or?
It is just briefly, I got some more information from our engineer. The intent is it would just be an ICD, so inlet control device on the roof. That's the extent of it.
All right, thank you.
That's what she's looking
helpful.
for.
And we'll get more information about that because I suspect we may be hearing more about those kinds of requests from the city going forward. Okay, so members of the panel, all those in favor? All right, so for the record, the application is unanimously granted. Thank you, Mr. Hume. All right, okay, well, that brings us to our last application, which is for 60 Hampton, looking for the agent. Is it Mr. Ali Tohidi, I believe, is who we spoke with previously? Come on down. Good afternoon. So you're Mr. Tohidi, I believe? Yes. Can you also introduce who's with you today?
I'm Joseph Vahidi. I am with Westbrook Gate Development. I'm working with Ali Tohidi through the development of this project.
And your address, please?
432 Lochaber, Lochaber, Ottawa, Ontario, K28086.
Perfect, thank you.
Sure.
So I believe the committee is looking for a presentation from you, Mr. Tohidi, I think? Yes, so go ahead, please.
I'd just like to mention that English is not my first language, so I would appreciate a slightly slower pace to read through my presentation, please. This application proposes the severance of 60 Hampton Avenue into 2 residential lots, each to accommodate a semi-detached dwelling with a legal basement unit, a total of 4 units. I'm also requesting minor variances to allow for front-facing garage, slight reduction in lot width, lot area, and rear yard dimensions. Proposal aligns with all relevant planning policies and supports climate-friendly and family-oriented infill. Next slide, please. The property is located in Wellington Village and is currently occupied by a 1.5-story detached home. It's surrounded by a diverse mix of low-rise housing, including singles and semi-detached dwellings. The area is in transition, and proposed development fits within the context of compatible infill and intensification. Next slide, please. Each new lot will host a 2.5-story semi-detached units with a basement apartment. We are proposing indoor front-facing garage, electrical vehicle charging readiness, and layout suitable for growing families. The architecture complements the surrounding homes and supports long-term livability. Next slide, please. Here is the draft plan of the severance. We are proposing to split the existing 15.24 meter wide lot into 2 parcels. Part 1 is 8.18 meters and part 2 is 7.06. Both lots exceed 29 meters in depth and maintain functional size and shape. Next slide, please. To facilitate this development, we are requesting relief for reduced lot widths and lot area on part 2. reduced rear yard setback and area on both lots, and permission for front-facing garage, which I'll speak more about it in a moment. All of these variances are modest and common to familiar developments in the area. Next slide, please. This annotated site plan visually maps the requested variances. We have requested that we have ensured that soft landscaping and amenity space are preserved in the rear yards. The garages are modest in scale and integrated into the overall massing. Next slide, please. Although the streetscape character analysis concludes that the front-facing garages are not typical within the 21-lot study area, this analysis has some limitations. There are several newer homes in Hampton Avenue, including just outside the streetscape analysis area boundary, that do feature front-facing garages. That's 21B and 21A shown in the picture also. Next slide, please. This slide highlights those homes with front-facing garages nearby, including 41 and 43 Hampton Avenue, which were approved by this committee. These examples show that the proposal garages are consistent with evolving characters in the neighborhood. Next slide, please. The rear yard setback variance is modest at 5.5 meters. This is in line with recent builds immediately behind and beside the property. These homes demonstrate that a reduced yard can still provide sufficient green space and privacy. Next slide, please. No distinctive trees will be removed. The city tree on the front yard, it will be preserved. There is enough soil, volume at the rear to support new planting and enhance greenery over time. Next slide, please. The proposed severance meets the criteria under Section 51. It supports efficient land use, conforms to local and provincial policies, does not require new infrastructure or subdivision plans, and fits well with existing development patterns. Next one, please. The variants requested are minor and have limited impact. Similar rear yard depths and garage types have been approved nearby. We are maintaining adequate open space, tree protection, and character of the street. Next one, please. The proposal adds gentle density with family-oriented housing and basement rental units. It maximizes land use while, respecting streetscape and, setbacks. The attached garage allows for practical parking and electrical vehicle infrastructure. Next one, please. The zoning bylaw encourages intensification while maintaining compatibility. We are keeping low-rise scale, soft landscaping, and functional yard space. The garage location is modest and already reflected in approval at nearby properties. Next one, please. The official plan supports compact, complete communities and missing middle housing. This project respects the character of the inner urban transect, aligns with infill goals, and delivers 4 family-ready homes close to transit and services. Last one, please. In summary, this application meets all planning policy tests, supports thoughtful, intensification and protects trees and contributes to Wellington Village's evolving built for. There are a couple of things that just regarding the rear yard setback and front face garage that, those are approved by the committee before, as I said, at 41 and 43 Hampton Avenue, and also the rear sides of the two adjacent, properties are similar to mine. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Tahiti. That was a very good presentation, and we do appreciate the amount of time and care that you've taken into putting that together for us. So with that, then I'm going to just open this up to members of the committee for questions. Member Coakley.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. So, Mr. Tahini, you're inviting us to consider the fact that 21A and 21B have front-facing garages. Fair enough. What about 15, 17, 19, 12, 14, 16, and 18, which were not part of the 21 that you are required to look at? I'm assuming, because you haven't got green dots on the on them in the documentation you submitted to us, I'm assuming that they do not have front-facing garages. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. So I mean, I take your point that there's two outside the zone, but if one looks at street to street, you'll agree that it's fair to say that the predominant character of the street is not front-facing garages.
Yes, streetscape analysis, it shows only 5 in the 21 units. But, again, as I said, there are precedents of, 2 units approved. And I actually, I know I'm not professional, so I'm just saying something in general as a comment. Nowadays, because of electrical cars, especially in this cold winter, the cars need to be in warm place to charge, batteries, and all the houses will need, having, indoor garage to support that. And I have examples actually approved by the city on, I believe, Huron Street. There were only 2 units having indoor garage and then front face indoor garage, and then there was another one approved. So this is becoming new norm. I mean, new normal, thing going on. So that's really, something that will go on.
Thank you for that. Yes, we have seen a lot of requests, in particular with regards to the EV requirements. So it's not new for us. So thank you for that.
And can I add one more, please?
Yes, go ahead.
I've talked to neighbors about this. Actually, 2 of them sent letters. Actually, I didn't know that, one of them actually may want to send a letter. And I noticed that they have encouraged, actually, one of them encouraged me, asked me, yeah, please put the garage, indoor garage, so the cars won't park on the street, especially in winter. That street is, full of snow and just one lane of, cars driving. So that's why I believe they want to have, indoor garage.
All right, thank you. Any other questions? Member Coakley.
Sorry. I did have one for city staff, which was, I note your concerns because of the front-facing garage issue. You said, were the committee to approve, you talked about separating the driveway from the walkway. How, assuming we were inclined to approve the variance, how would we take that into account? Or would we, and it would be left for somebody else to deal with?
Thank you, Mr. Coakley. That's an excellent question. So I think in this scenario, it would be tied, the variances would be tied to the plans, or approval will be tied to the plans insofar as they relate to the variances. And that, I believe that would be sufficient to accommodate the changes or the clarification that I am requesting to the plans.
Thank you.
All right, any further questions? No, all right. So again, no speakers on my list. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak to the committee either for or against in regards to this application? All right, I'm not seeing anybody come forward. I don't have any further questions, so Mr. Tahiti, any final comments from you?
No, I just thank, for giving me opportunity to talk. Last time I didn't know, there should be such presentation. Last 2 weeks, I put so much time to prepare something for you guys. I'm not professional, so.
Well, you did a very good job, Mr. Tahiti. So we're actually quite impressed with the work that you put together. And I said, as I said, this is the kind of information that the committee needs in order to make it a decision based on the 4 tests. And so you did very well. Thank you. All right. With that, then, committee members, how about we reserve on this one? All right. So we're going to reserve, which means we're not making a decision right now, but we will deliberate further just following this hearing and make a decision.
Can I ask what item might be not clear? So I may want to say more about it or anything.
No, I think we're okay with the information. I didn't see anything further. I guess I should have asked you, you're okay with all of the conditions?
Yes, I am.
Yeah, okay. Well then, actually, I think that's, I think we're good. Thank you very much. All right. With that takes us to the end of our agenda. So unless anybody has any other business, we are adjourned. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.